Welcome, 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 everyone. It's good to have you here for today's. Um, it's not. It's not a web. I just don't like the word webinar. It just sounds incredibly boring. Maybe I'm just. Maybe that's just me. But
Let's call it a
yeah,
happy hour. Let's call it a happy hour.
happy hour. There you go. It's noon-ish. Well, it depends on which time zone you're in. Anyway, I'm your host, Jonathan Reynolds. It is good to have you all here. Why don't we, if a feudal housekeeping instructions? One is, this is technically a webinar format, so we can't see you. You can see us, meaning Cullen and myself. And so few instructions if you're used to Zoom, obviously. At the bottom of the Zoom panel, you've got a new button there called Q&A. That's because it's a webinar. So at any point during our time here together, you can actually put a question in there and we will, you can direct it to Cullen or myself or to either of us. We will make sure we answer that in live time. We're going to try and make it interactive here. And if you would rather not put it in Q&A and just go, hey, let's just be bold here and put it in chat, you can also put it in chat. Everyone will be able to see that, though, if you put it into chat, okay? So we'll have a little practice run at this. Why don't you write in chat where you are dialing in from, okay? So a little tester. So go down to the chat feature at the bottom and write in. And I'm just going to, I'll lead this here. Oh, everyone's way faster than me. I'm technically in Chicago, but I live in Geneva, Illinois. So, because when people say, "Oh, you're in Chicago," whereabouts in Chicago? I'm like, it's actually 45 minutes west of the city. Funny story. My wife used to say this when we lived in Wisconsin, just over the border into Wisconsin. We'd be traveling internationally. They'd say, "Where are you from?" And she'd say, "Chicago," because she thought it was cooler than saying Wisconsin. And someone would go, "Oh my gosh, I'm from Chicago. Whereabouts?" And she would go, "About 45 minutes north." And they're like, "No way, whereabouts?" And she'd have to admit that she's talking about Wisconsin. I would always
Gotta
get a
own it.
kick out of
Gotta
it.
own it.
Anyway, exactly. Anyway, I will stop telling anecdotal stories about people in my life, but it's I am really honored to have Cullen here today with us from Exit Momentum. They're an Inc. 5000 fastest growing privately held company in the US. There's a team of 7 pro coaches who get involved in coaching loads of companies, over $1 billion in client revenue, of helping companies in massive amounts of impactful ways. I won't give it away, all what he's talking about here today, but he has helped loads of founders execute their teams, sort of really to unlock extraordinary business performance. Cullen is the founder here, a multi-time Inc. 5000 company, and he is somebody I look up to, respect, and just the way he advises, the way he helps companies preparing for their future and transitions and acquisitions and mergers. This is my notes here. He's helped validate business models that produced an 11x return and a $220 million exit. So if you're into the money, there's some big numbers right there. So you came here for a reason. Each one of you don't just probably signing up for webinars because you're lonely and you want to see other people's faces. I doubt that's why you signed up for this. Each of you came here for a reason. And so just think about why you came here, what it was that attracted you or made you want to show up today. And make sure you get that out of this. Okay. So you came for a reason. Make sure you get something from this time. So listen with ears to hear, and so actually you obtain what you came here for. And if you don't get what you came here for, that's what you can use the question and answer feature or the chat. You think, I'm going to ask a question here. I wanted to gain this, and Cullen didn't even talk about it. Let's hope that it's on topic, what you came for, and it wasn't just some random life, deep philosophical question that you have, and we didn't answer it. But I will just let you know that you are welcome to ask that question that's burning as well, even if it's nothing to do with this topic, because we're going to have some fun here today. But you didn't come here to hear me, especially. Let's hand over to Cullen Talley.
Thank you, Jonathan. Grateful to be here as always and to support businesses all across the country. We feel like it's a great privilege to get the chance to work with mid-sized companies because we believe they make a massive difference in so many people's lives in our country. And so it's just a real privilege to get a chance to talk to all of you today. So we're going to spend some time today really talking about how you connect your vision oftentimes as an owner or a C-suite or a executive in the organization, and why sometimes that vision, those ideas don't actually come to life, right? Because most organizations don't fail because of bad ideas. We got lots of good ideas. In fact, many times too many. One of the things we see with a lot of clients is there's so many number one priorities that there's not real clarity about what they're doing. And then once they start to get clear, there's failure in execution. And many times as organizations continue to grow, the challenge is our owners and key leaders don't know how to hand those things off, and they don't have a mechanism for that. And so today we really want to try to identify where in your organization that may be going on. And let me say this. Some of you, regardless of size, let's say you were a $5 million company, now you're a $20 million company, or 20 or 50. What did work before may no longer work because of the change in your business, the change in your staff. And so you can have solved that problem, 6 months or 6 years ago, and you can feel like you're in a very similar place, even though you're much larger and you've had a lot of success. So we're going to try to identify that down and bring that down to 3 core ideas and obstacles for what we do. So here are the obstacles, and I want you to think about this almost like a triangle, right? And so at the base of the triangle is actually the last one, the dynamic, and on either side it's direction and design. And we think of it that way because even if you look at architecture, a triangle is an incredibly strong shape, right? It holds weight very, very well. And so for organizations, right, we've got the direction. Where are we going? And the challenge sometimes there is we have unclear direction, or more importantly for some of you, shifting vision and priorities that change each week, each month, each quarter, because you got the new shiny thing you might be interested in. And so you get really excited about that. And that's really hard for sometimes the team, your folks that are executing to handle. Design. What is the design of your business? What systems are you using? What data to use? And some things there. And then lastly, the dynamic, this relational connection of the humans we have in the business. So I think we may have is this where we have a opportunity for people to put up a Q&A? Am I remembering correctly? Great. So if you just on that initial thing, so if you're thinking about which one you're struggling with today, I want you to choose one. So in here, so which one? Is it direction drift, unclear shifting vision priorities? Is it design disorder? And we're going to go through each of these in a minute. Weak or outdated systems and data, or is it dynamic dysfunction, relational, or communication breakdowns? Where do you think you have the most opportunity to improve? Even if you're good in all 3, what's the one that has the most opportunity for you? I'll give you 15 seconds to get that answered. All right, all right, all right. You getting those votes in? Okay, which I'm sure we'll see results here in just a second. All right. Well, Jonathan, we got a pretty good breakdown between the folks we have on the call. So it's spread out. So it's good. So we're gonna be able to talk to everybody then. So fantastic. All right. Let's move on to digging into each one. So number one, the direction one, right? So this, again, from a direction standpoint, this direction drift, right? Clear leadership focuses that aligns the team around shared vision, measurable goals, and defined priorities. All right, let's break those apart, right? Shared vision. Are we clear with the vision, the strategy, and plan of where we are going? Is that through the organization so that they understand that in a way that they can execute against, and they can see how the measurable goals that you have as an organization tie back to that and the priorities? So number one, they understand why you're saying yes to some things and no to some other things. What tends to happen over time is as we work on this, you as leaders and as owners of businesses, you're juggling a lot of demands. There's a lot of things coming at you. And so it can be hard to hold on to that, and you start to lose perspective and clarity fades. And so if you're not having a mechanism to make sure, minimally quarterly, annual is not enough. So if you're doing that, once a year, that's not enough for getting clear. You got to be getting clear at least quarterly and certainly monthly as well. And we're going to dig a little further into direction drift as well in terms of talking through what we see. So when we see, what are the key takeaways, right, for as far as direction drift? Number one, team members must know the who owns what in the organization, the why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this organization beyond whatever business you're in? Why do we choose as a set of humans to do this work together? Where are we going? What are the key actual places we're saying we are headed here very specifically, and then ultimately how, right? Also too, from direction drift, what we see is clarity requires outside perspective. And that's not self-serving saying you need to hire us. That is you as an owner and key leader, where are the places you are going? Jonathan's with us today. He's that strategic coach. Why? Because he needs to get outside of his environment to get into a place that makes him think differently. I was with a scaling up event last week. Why? Because I needed to be in a place where I'm thinking differently about my business and stuff like that. So that can be a peer group, that could be an outside coach, that could be a mentor, that could be advisory board. There's lots of flavors for how you get that done. But if you want to make sure you don't wind up with this direction drift, you better have some level of accountability and some people that you trust that can make sure you're staying clear. Because when direction is clear, decisions for you get lighter and progress accelerates because all of those decisions aren't coming up to you. They're not all flowing up. And that's one of the main things we see with clients at all levels from $3 million up to $150 million in revenue. It doesn't matter when this isn't clear. So many things that are below their level of focus wind up on their plate and in their day to day. So number 2, design. So this is how you actually run the business, the systems, the data, the communication rhythms that make your strategy scalable and repeatable. Because the vision piece is kind of this broader, a little bit more ethereal. This is who we are. This is why we exist. This is where we're going. The strategy starts to really map it down to the ground in terms of that. So do we have the systems to make it scalable and repeatable? Again, one of the biggest problems, and obviously you're on a webinar with people that are incredibly talented in the talent area with the Titus team that the Jonathan and team have assembled. And so when we start to think about scale and growth, it is really about aligning that human potential to make sure we can do that well. And we're not having to come stand next to somebody for 6 months to have them be a contributor. When we don't have the right design and we have design disorder, growth stalls. Decisions rely on instinct or gut really over insight. You're just in that moment, which is a dangerous place to live, especially with the change that we're seeing at a macro level outside of the world that we're in today. But when you think about this scalable system, it is really about the scaling of the human potential that we have in the business. And so many times we have locked up human potential in our business. We could do so much more. I tell teams all the time, you've built a $50 million engine in terms of your people. The problem is we're doing about $35 million with it. So that shows up in a pretty particular way in terms of the bottom line. And can we unlock that human potential with a better design? So with that, what are our key takeaways in terms of design disorder? Vision without structure and execution is simply hyper noise. I know a lot of leaders who love to get excited about their vision. They say, I share it every day. I share it every day. Okay, does that map to activities daily, weekly, and monthly? And show me, oh yeah, it does. Okay, show me where you're tracking that. How would we even know that, or is it just you're hyping your team up and they love you and they love the energy, but what do they do on Tuesday? Like, what do they do with that, that excitement that you have, right? Scalable growth requires these intelligent design, the dashboards you're using, whatever systems you have, the reporting, accountability loops. How are we driving accountability? Not so you have to stand over somebody and micromanage and overcoach, but there's a system for seeing that. It actually just propagates inside of your organization. And these systems make team effort more predictable, right? It's just easier for us to move forward when we have the right design. And this is where scale gets unlocked. And obviously, we want to make sure that gets unlocked. The other thing it unlocks, quite frankly, for me, that matters as high as financial performance, everything else, is your time for other passions. Like all of you have other passion outside of your work. You have family, you may have church, you may have other things you volunteer for. You may be somebody who hunts or does certain endurance races, whatever the thing is that you care about. Art, like if we do design well in the organization, you have time for that. And so many of our owners and leaders, the thing that gets sacrificed in their life is that component. And so when we talk about design, yes, it's about unlocking that human potential, but it's also about unlocking what it is that you care about in life so that it doesn't suffer because you're so pulled into the business and you are literally the bridges and the glue and the duct tape between all the things inside the organization. Number 3, oh my gosh, if we didn't have people, it sure would be easier to do business, right? So the dynamic, right? The human side of execution, right? This is trust, this is communication, this is accountability that ultimately leads to results. And so teams certainly lose momentum when relationships and communication break down, this dysfunctional dynamic. And sometimes you may say, well, we're not dysfunctional, but we struggle to have the hard conversation. We really like each other. I'm like, well, yeah, but are you willing to have the hard conversation? Are you willing to go to war when necessary to have what I call the collision of creation, right? Sometimes it's collision that needs to happen inside, especially leadership teams, to get clear. And that's not attacking someone, that's not being mean. But if I don't have the dynamic to have difficult conversations about talent, difficult decisions about what we're going to say no to, difficult conversations about things we have already invested in, and now we have some bias that because we've invested in it, we need to keep going. And so, does that dynamic exist and actually occur outside of the leadership room as well? Because sometimes we've got key executive teams that do it, but they've not really trained it. We're still kind of mommy and daddy and the rest of the organization, and we've not infused that approach so that things don't keep rising again to the highest levels of the organization. So you guys know this, results rise or fall in relationships. You know, there's times when you have worked with people where you've gone farther, you've worked harder, you've gone the extra mile because of the relationship, and you knew somebody on the other side was doing it. And really, many of you, obviously, on this call, my suspicion is you have teams that work for you, and great leaders coach through people, not around them. So are you using that mechanism that you have with to coach through them to get the result that you want? Are you going in and fixing it yourself? So many times I hear people, well, it'd just be easier for me to go do it or me to go handle the situation than train John or Cullen on how to do it, right? Jonathan or Cullen on how to do it. Yeah, we're not as easy to train sometimes. But bottom line is we've got to not go around people. We've got to look at that and think about it. You know, oftentimes I talk about, you think about water, like if you look at a stream or you know, a river, or whatever, and you see water and there's this big boulder in the middle and the water's having to go around that. It's actually moving around that. And oftentimes in organizations, we see that dynamic happening in terms of what's going on there. So let's dig a little further in this dynamic of dysfunction dynamic. All right. So, Jonathan, on that, from your perspective on the dynamic, the dysfunction dynamic, is there some things that you see in terms of the work that you guys are doing with clients, especially today, to try to minimize that?
Yeah, I think this is a good one. I think one of the most common issues people have for preventing them from accomplishing their vision is people. Whether it be in manufacturing, you got the wrong people pushing the wrong buttons, or the right people pushing the wrong buttons. Things just happen. Mistakes happen. A lack of clarity around what the vision is and the work that needs to be done, and it all comes down to people. It's Most companies' problems are people problems. You joked and said, you know, it would all work so well if it wasn't for people. And I know the sort of the tease with it, but it's absolute privilege. It's an absolute privilege that somebody and anybody would choose to give their skills, gifts, and talents on loan to us, or an investor in our organization of all the richness that they bring to the table into our organization. And it's often, I think, we stand up when somebody joins our organization, we say, you hear some leader saying, we're so excited that Cullen is here. I won't use Cullen. So excited that so and so is here with us. We believe they're going to make a wonderful impact and have a great part of our future and help us accomplish our goals. And we're very excited. And everyone's, yeah, so great. And at some point in time, we're like, yeah, actually, we had to part ways with them. Well, who screwed them up? You know, because you
Yeah.
said they were amazing, and at some point in time, you said they're not good anymore. Did you mess them up, or were they bad on the first? You know, but for us as leaders to go, number one, we're a part of hiring. Okay, we're a part of this decision-making process, and we're a part of onboarding and integrating, and we're a part of leading them, training them, investing in them. And when it doesn't work, we need to look at it and say, okay, all right, I'm responsible because I'm the leader here. And so we have to take responsibility for those things. But first and foremost, I think it's great to recognize and honor the fact that it's a gift for people to give their gifts to us. And so take that really, really seriously and invest in the people component of your business. It will not just happen on its own. Culture is intentional, or it needs to be intentional anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's why, you know, we work well with you as well, because you get these
Right.
things for your companies and organizations to hit their goals and objectives. We need to recognize that the bringing the clarity around there is a huge investment in people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it brings up a point for me on the dysfunctional dynamic. And we'll talk about this assessment in just a second so people can figure out how best to use it. But it reminds me of the clients that we've had the fortune to work with that have scaled dramatically in people, and some of the things that have gotten diluted in the midst of that. Obviously, you guys know about bringing a lot of talent in at one time, and how when we're rolling from 30 people to 50 or 100 to 200 or whatever, what happens in the midst of that, and all of a sudden they turn around like, wait a minute, this is not the same company. And so that dynamic, this dysfunction can show up because of your growth rate, like because of your success, because this is hard work. And what used to be able to be handled kind of in this tribal nature, we're all connected, we're all around each other because of your success, congratulations, it's a much more complicated thing to manage. And so I want to make sure we talk about dysfunction and the dynamic. I think, again, it's the base of the triangle to me, and people is the most important part in terms of that. If you recognize that your growth rate is going to have a big impact on how quickly this can kind of get a little bit sideways in terms of your organization. So real quick here, this is an assessment we use for our clients and for our prospects to help them think through the 4 Ps that lead to profit. So really assessing just a couple of questions. It's super quick on people, on your purpose, your overall vision and strategy, your process and where you are from a process standpoint, performance, which ultimately drive profit. And all of those will tie back to this 3D model we just talked about in terms of this. So hopefully it'll take some time, take a look at that. We've got some content on the backside to help you as well, based on which one winds up coming out as the lower in terms of that. And if you would want help on that, or at least have a call with somebody about at least reviewing it, just to help you understand some ways you might be able to solve that, our team's certainly happy to do that.
Fantastic. Cool. Thanks, Cullen. Well,
Yeah.
I just pause for everybody here, all the hundreds of people around the country, as you're listening, thinking, okay, what questions do I have there? If you want to pop them in the Q&A section, you can, or in chat, either one. As I'm going to take the baton, or the baton, as we would say in England. I'm going to take the baton now and just talk about a little bit more about how do we make it all happen with people. And I already just briefly shared there is I do think people are a wonderful miracle and a gift when they choose to show up to our organization and say, I am going to give my time and invest my time, my talents, my skills, my passion, my vision. I'm going to give it to this organization and help the organization hit its company, the overall goals and vision and future plans. I think it's really important for us as leaders to recognize what a gift, and the humility to honor the fact that people have chosen to partner with us for a season of their life. On average, it's about 31 months right now in the United States across all generations. Boomers, a lot more, it's about 7 years. Gen X around 5 years, millennials somewhere around 3. Gen Z is under 2 years that they're staying in an organization. And as you can see, it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. You got the gig economy shifting a lot of the way people think temporarily about work and career and employment. Many folk have side hustles that they've chosen to do, whether it be rental properties and Airbnb or whatever it is. They've got something going on with the dream of this entrepreneurial spirit, which is great in America. As you can probably pick up by now, I am not American born, British born, American by choice, and it's a privilege to be here being an entrepreneur. But I do look at it as it's a gift and a privilege that people come in alongside the vision of my organization. And so treating that with honor and respect and investing in people. On average, the first time manager, a people manager in the United States, on average is around 26 years old. On average, the first time that manager receives training, formal training to be a manager, is 42. We have a major gap of investing in leadership development for the most important and valuable thing in any organization has, is the people. So we put a lot more stuff into investing in revenue generation, a lot more stuff into systems and processes and software. But what do we put is investing in our people. And so you've heard the old adage that people don't leave companies, they leave their boss, they leave their manager. You think, well, no wonder. We're not training the managers to lead very well. So here is a few things today that I want to talk about. Just this execution gap, tying people to what Cullen's sharing here is, even with a clear vision, you can spend time on that vision. You can see it so crystal clear. Maybe you're a leader, you're a manager, you're executive in an organization, you're an owner in an organization. You can, I see the vision so clearly. I can taste it. It's that close. And you're like, yes, I want everyone to see it. And if you can communicate it so clearly and so well that everybody sees it, then you got to get the right people in the right seats, or right people in the right roles. And so often we see, why is this department not working? Why is it not accomplishing goals? We got the wrong people leading that department, or we've not trained that person how to do their role very well. They're phenomenal at leading the engineering department, but they've not been invested in how to develop and lead people. Like I just talked about, 26 to 42. That is a very large gap of dysfunction. As Cullen's talking about the dysfunction of these things. Maybe it's just that we've not invested in the right people to do the right role and leading other people. So the other part is, I think the performance metrics are unclear, or we don't have any at all. So we say, we want to get here. Okay, how we get there and what it looks like at the end is not been quantified or clear. I've moved house in January of this year, and it seems like we've had non-stop contractors in and out of our home over the last 10, 11 months. There are some projects that my wife has been general contracting, and she does a phenomenal job making sure she spends a lot of time communicating what the outcome should look like. If it's paint, exactly the hue and color and everything. And she spends way more time than I would on those projects. But she wants to be very, very clear on what the outcome should look like. She wants to be incredibly clear. And the projects that I've managed, this is really, and I'm getting a revelation here right now. Here I am in this place where I've written books about this stuff around clear performance objectives and how to get the right people in the right seats and the right roles. And when it comes to these home projects, I'm like, yeah, I want the fireplace here and I want to figure it out. And then once I come home from, I've been away traveling, I come back and why is the chimney go this way and up here? Why is it on that side of the house? This doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that? And I'm thinking, why would the people who do it, why do they do it that way? That's so stupid. I would not have done it that way. Well, I'm the one who's paying the bill, but I didn't communicate to them exactly where I wanted the thing done. You've got to be really clear. If you have a vision of what the outcome should be, you better be clear on what the outcome is for the people who are responsible for getting that job done. And this is not just an executive issue. This runs through entire organizations. Unclear performance objectives. What do you want the outcome to be? What do you want the person to do, achieve, or accomplish to be considered successful? We were recruiting. I was asked to. I showed up at this organization, about $100 million manufacturing organization in Chicago many years back. And I was sitting with the CEO and the CFO, and they had heard that we could help them find a COO. And I walked into the conference room, meeting these guys for the first time, and they slid across the table a job description for a COO that they are very proud of. They'd spent a lot of time working on, and it was 4 pages long. And I thumbed through it really quickly. And then in the obnoxious way that I do things, I ripped it up and I threw it in the trash behind me. And I said, so what's the job? And they just looked at me like I was an idiot, which was, I was okay with that. But I said, all right, what's the number one thing this person needs to do, achieve, or accomplish for you to say that was a really successful hire? Quantify it, go. Number one thing. I said, how would you know if this COO has done a great job? What would the business look like? Where would it show up on the balance sheet? And they said, well, if we could grow our bottom line profit by this percentage, it would be fantastic. And I said, okay, how would they do that? And they said, well, we've got major issues in these 6 plants across the United States. And they need to fix them with this issue, and this issue. And I was like, all right, wow. How would they tackle that in the first 90 days? What would you know to look for in the first 90 days that they were on track? And they said, oh, God, but this. Go and visit all these plants, figure out this stuff, do an assessment, and then write up a plan, and then spend the next 9 months executing the plan. I'm like, fantastic. All right, that's number one. What's number two? We went down to 3 deep. And I paused and I said, it looks pretty good to me. Answer this for me. Was any of this on that 4-page job description? And they looked at me like, you got us. None of it was on there. It was a list of duties and responsibilities, but no performance objectives, no clear outcome. And that right there is the biggest issue in hiring. And the other issue in hiring is you might have one person who's very clear on these things, but there are other people who are involved in the hiring who have a different opinion. So everybody's interviewing with a different goal in mind. And that causes conflict. And it causes conflict in my marriage when it comes to the fireplace, where it is. If we both have different objectives of where the chimney needs to go, we're going to have a problem. Okay. So you're asking for conflict when you allow people to all have a different opinion on what the job should look like. And this is where interviewing just gets all screwed up. Be clear on what the objective is and how it fits into the overall picture. And then giving the leaders an actual coaching framework of how we're going to help people get the job done on time, on budget, in the way we want them to do it, aka aligning with the cultural values, how they treat one another, how they interact with other departments, how they get the job done. Super important. And we have, here are the ground rules, and when things are off track or when things are not being handled properly, this is our methodology and how we treat one another and we handle conflict. And if you have a framework for that, now everyone knows what the expectations are, what's expected of them individually, what's the expectation of the team, and how they're going to get there. So this big gap, I mean, I would just say lack of clarity, a lack of clarity around what needs to get done and how it needs to get done. So really, really important. And some of you sitting here listening right now going, yep, that was the issue in our last hire. And I'm like seeing some of the names. I can see who's here in this thing. And I'm like, yeah, I can see some of you as well, where you faced this issue where a search has taken a really long time because you've got too many cooks in the kitchen and everybody has a different opinion. We didn't stick to the blueprint that we said that we were looking for, or the blueprint keeps changing, as what Cullen talked about. Vision keeps changing. We often do this when it comes to hiring as well. And this, so we used to offer this guarantee on 100% performance of the people we recommend. I say used to, we still do, but one of the fine prints, wasn't not so fine, with the fine print was you cannot change the performance objectives in the first year. Do you know how many companies change the performance objectives in the first year of the person they hired? And then they wonder why they didn't do a good job. Like, you hired them for this job, but then you like, I understand the business change, but how many times are we holding people accountable for something that, you know, just keep changing the goalposts? It's very frustrating to anyone. So one of the things as well, we connect roles to the mission. So where are we going? How are we getting there? And make sure the clear performance objectives are tied to the mission, and however, what your framework or your operating system for running your business on. And then understanding people. People are messy. People are complex. There are things going on in your life right now today that weren't going on or were not a big issue to you 6 months ago. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's something with the health of a family member. Maybe it's some drama in your life of going on in a teenager's life, maybe. Or maybe it's something that's going on in your career that's affecting how you show up every single day. Maybe it's a colleague issue. It really, people become messy because they're not as predictable as we thought they were when we interviewed or hired them. Okay, so one of the ways we can do it is looking through the different lens. So we say it's the head, heart, briefcase. So the head is the cognitive and the behavioral responses or stimulus response. How do people act and behave? And we said that's roughly a third of the equation. Okay, so how they think and how they act. From a brain side of things. The heart is all about values, character, motivation, and really understanding those things, like that stuff that the guiding principles of their life. How do they define certain words from a meaning perspective, not just a definition on paper, but what does it mean to them? Words like integrity and character and all of those things. Like, what does that mean to them and how do they make their decisions? And what motivates them to do the things they do? And finally, the final third is briefcase. Like, what do they bring to the table by skills and experience? So when people say, oh, we must have somebody who's graduated with a degree in accounting. Okay, why? Well, they need it to lead our accounting department. Okay, fair point. Okay, must have a bachelor's degree. Why? Well, I don't know, it just shows discipline. Okay, is there any other way we can assess discipline? Well, of course. Like, so don't come up with arbitrary requirements that make no bearing on what they do every single day. Too many job descriptions say they must be able to sit, bend, and stand and lift 25 pounds for extended periods of time, aka that COO search that we were looking for. It was on there, and I'm like, okay, can you explain why? I don't know. HR told me I had to put it on there. All right, hold on a second. That's not the role we're hiring for. Okay, let's look at the performance objectives and make sure somebody can do this job, will do this job, and wants to do the job with us. Okay, so Head Heart Briefcase is just a simple framework to help you get the right people in the right roles and then help them and invest in them to get the right results. Really, really important. All righty. Cool. So let me just ask you, Cullen, do you have any framework or any kind of tips and tricks in your organization, how you coach companies and around people?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the number of different tools that we use. Certainly, some of the things you mentioned, whether it's values, whether they align with the purpose, helping them get clear about what an ideal teammate looks like in our organization in terms of in general. And then, yeah, getting to can they actually handle this job? And one of the key things we're seeing again, we deal with so many companies that are growing so dramatically. It's a situation where are they the right talent for where we will be in the next 3 to 12 months? Because sometimes they're still hiring from a little bit of an older point of view and not recognizing either the specialization in a role or the level of stress and time that's required in a role. Because different people, to your point, humans are messy. We all are, myself included. And so we have things going on. And so are we really looking at, even if they have the briefcase, is there something going on with a current employee or somebody we're potentially hiring where time could be an issue? They're not available because some jobs aren't 8 to 5, or there's more stress in certain jobs. So it's some of those kind of nuances that we've seen a lot of issue with, and we're doing more and more talent assessment with our clients for where they're going, not where they are. We've got a financial institution in South Louisiana, about $1 billion in assets. We've got a big BHAG out in front of us and stuff like that. And we just completed this year a $2 billion talent assessment, not to catch people and have them get caught, but recognize, okay, where are the gaps in what we're doing? Where do we have really high performers that are maybe not able to lead the team the way we need to do, because the team is not 3 people anymore, it's 12. And when they were kind of a leader doer at 3 people on the team, it was fine because they were still kind of doing the thing. They're, as leading a team of 12, they're just leading now. And so it's helped us really identify key areas in that, because of we're clear about where we're going and not 2 and 3 years from now. I mean, yes, that matters, but we have clarity for this next 12 months. And so it's helped us figure out what training was necessary, who needed some hard conversations, who we needed to go love on, because quite frankly, we've been overloading them for the last 12 months. So who needed some real attaboys in terms of that? So for us, those are some of the key things that have come up. And obviously, there's multiple tools in the way to do this, but I think talent assessment for where you're going is critically important, because when you do it for where you are, sometimes you're going to miss some things.
I think that's really good, and not doing it too far out is the other
Yes.
blind spot. When someone says, "Okay, tell me about succession planning," like, "Okay, well, we need to hire somebody today to take this role in 5 years' time,"
No.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, oh, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Let's back
Too
up a
many
little bit.
assumptions. Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
average tenure is 31 months, that's less than 3 years. So on average, and so we often talk at Titus, like, how do we paint the picture for the next 3 years? And not only in a compelling way so they understand the big picture of the company, but they can see themselves in that picture like they are a piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the puzzle box is the picture. Like,
Yeah.
this is what we're building. It's a 500-piece puzzle. We're going to need 500 people to get there, or it's a 200-piece puzzle. That's what it's going to take to get us there. What piece are you? And are you inspired and engaged and compelled to be a part of the picture of the future? Where are you?
Yeah.
Where
And
do you see yourself fitting? Yeah.
yeah, and Jonathan, for us, the two messages we advise clients to make sure that come through that, especially those that have some entry level roles on the team and stuff like that, is when you paint that picture for the team, and it needs to be for everybody in the organization. The two things that we want to get across to them is you are safe and you are secure. We live in times that feel a bit unsafe, especially for folks who may be in entry level roles, don't have as much disposable income, may not have savings. So oftentimes I see our leaders want to paint that picture for the key executives, leaders in the organization. I'm like, this is just as important for our frontline staff who may be answering a phone or on a piece of equipment, so that they know that people that are running this have a plan, number one, and I'm safe and secure, because I'm hearing some things out there, economically or globally, that I don't fully comprehend or spend that much time on. So I'm safe and secure, one of the most human needs we have. The other is
Mm,
there's opportunity for advancement for me here. I'm not going to be stuck in this role for the rest of my life because maybe generationally I don't have that in my family as much. And so there's an opportunity for me to move beyond this. I have a chance to get out of a call center and run a team. I have a chance to not necessarily sit on a piece of equipment for the rest of my life. So safety and security is part of that 3-year picture and vision in terms of that, as well as opportunity for advancement. And I think when we distill that into the message, the what it creates is, to me, I think it outstrips probably some of these numbers that you're talking about 31 months or 24 months. How do we get people to stay and keep the talent? Well, you better paint something that helps them feel safe and secure and that they have opportunity to take care of their family and grow their skills and experience in your organization.
beautiful. I love it. I think that safety and security piece as well. The ambiguity causes that. Okay. Clarity reduces the fear of, am I safe? Am I secure? So
Yeah,
if you know what you're supposed to be doing and you are doing it, you have a level of pride in the work that you've done. It's like first day of school and you don't know which room you're supposed to go to and where I'm
yeah,
supposed to. It just causes so much insecurity. Like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know
yeah,
which. If you remember back in middle school, it just felt really daunting because you felt silly. Am I wearing the right clothes? Am I people laughing at me? What's going on? All of that. Like, it's stressful, right? It's the
yeah,
same level of stress in a different way as the older we get. But when you start a new job, it's one of the top 3 stresses in life: death in the family, moving house, and moving job.
mm,
Why is it? So if you really dig into why is moving job so stressful, it's the ambiguity and lack of clarity of what success looks like and who am I here to impress.
yeah,
The people don't know the who's who. So if you let them know, here's your boss, here's your team, here's who you're going to be working with, and here's what your role is, and here's what excellence looks like quantifiably in your role, and you start delivering it. He's like, by day 7, you need to be doing this. By day 30, you should be doing this. By day 90, here are your 5 objectives.
yeah,
It's done or not done.
yeah,
But it's in your power. We're going to train you to do it, and you can get this job done. Whatever the role is, from C-suite to, as Cullen said, the front line, somebody on a forklift, knowing exactly what excellence looks like really reduces that ambiguity and reduces the fear and safety factors. Okay, so or increases the safety and reduces the fear. Clarity is super, super important. And this is why we call performance profiles versus job descriptions. So that the abstract stuff turning into very, very actionable, quantifiable objectives. So outcomes define the success. What are those outcomes that define success? And celebrate that stuff. Really, really celebrate it. So what are we going to measure and how are we going to measure it and when are we going to measure it? Being really, really clear with people so it's not ambiguous, and it brings so much peace to your people if they know those expectations. I'll keep moving on here. Just in time is this whole thing is I think it's really important to just celebrate as well. Just when people are hitting their goals and objectives, that you can celebrate it. I think that's one of the things which we love at Titus internally. 150 so team members around the country. We're a remote or mobile company, and so part of our coaching is celebration. We know what it means, what we're celebrating, when we're celebrating, and who we're celebrating, and how we're celebrating. It's very big part of our rhythms. And sometimes we feel like, golly, we're celebrating so much here, but no, we're celebrating when people do 100%. Like that's what we agreed to pay them 100% for 100% performance. We celebrate those things in the same way they probably celebrate the fact they got paid. Yay, my money's in my account. And we go, yay, well done, you got the job done. Equal. 100% pay should equal 100% performance. If you don't know what 100% performance is, you need to figure that out for any role in your organization. It's the thing that will bring rising people to hit their goals and the vision to get accomplished. If 100% of your people hit 100% performance, you should have hit 100% of the plan, right? So it's really, really important. So, and then having a system for that real-time feedback tied to metrics. So where are those conversations happening? And it shouldn't surprise you, and maybe it does, but it shouldn't surprise you that we are in a feedback culture, instantaneous feedback culture. Likes, clicks, Okay, cool. Hit me now. Subscribe below and hit a likes. There we go. Come on. And why don't you share it with people and say, hey, could you write a review on our restaurant? Because you go on Yelp and you go on Google. Blah, blah, blah. Everyone wants to have feedback, okay? Instantaneous feedback, and we're conditioned to it. So when people show up to work and you go, and now time for your annual review. Annual review, what we're going to reviewing something that happened 12 months ago? It'd be like a restaurant going, hey, you visited us January of 2025. Would you mind writing a review on your chicken piccata, please? And you're like, chicken piccata, I remember that. You know, like, yeah, we're going to do instantaneous reviews. We're going to review it while it's still fresh in mind. So create a culture where feedback is there so you can coach. Can you imagine a coach of a top national team and they give feedback once a year? No, the coach is real time. Hey, what you just did, yelling from the sidelines. Okay, we've got to be interactive with our team members, giving good real-time feedback. People want it. They're conditioned to it. So celebrate wins, absolutely, so people can and course correct in coaching along the way. So coaching is where culture and results meet. It's come on, people are craving it. Don't wait too long for feedback. So, all right, these big ideas into team results. What does this mean? So, direction. Everybody knows the destination. You know how you can find out if everybody knows where you're going? You can ask them. Just ask them. Just say, hey, do you know where we're going? Like, what are some of the, can you remember any of our annual goals? Can you remember, can you describe the company of the future that we've tried to paint a picture of? What does it look like? What are aspects of our future vision excite you? It'll be a really good way of finding out if people, if you're synced up on the vision and the direction of where it's going. Don't be afraid to ask. Some people don't want to ask because they don't want to, I don't know if I can handle the fact that somebody doesn't know. I'm like, well, it just shows the fact that we need to be clear about it. Okay. Especially for me, I lead a mobile organization. I don't have the big lobby with the vision on the wall. I don't have that. There is no wall. So how are we communicating that vision? We have to do it often. So via Zoom, that's how we do it. Design systems and data driven, drive that right execution. People need to know how they're doing. If there was no scoreboard in the middle of the game, like for everybody in the whole stadium, the whole room, everyone needs a scoreboard, right? We need to know how are we doing, especially at halftime. You run in the locker room, like, can you imagine if the coach wasn't there for the first half of the game and there was no scoreboard? Like, what are they going to say? Like, how's everyone doing? Everyone happy? Like, do you feel good about how we're doing? Like, no, forget the feeling side of it. Like, we've got to have some data here. We've got to have a scoreboard so we know how to coach. And then people and trust fuel performance. Spend time with the people. Spend time. It's relational. If we could just do this automatically and just via data and system, blah, 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 I'm telling you, people would not be engaged in your business vision. If it's just, I get an email every day from my manager, like, do you, or is that automated? Can you imagine? Like, with all the automations out there, it's like, dear first name, you're doing a great job. Like, great. Way to engage me, way to get me motivated to go above and beyond and crush my goals. Like, no, I got an automated message from my boss. Like, this sucks. You know, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, be dynamic, be relational, care for the people in your care. Really, really important. So if you can get all of these things to line up, I tell you, you will turn your big ideas, whoever came up with the big ideas, into something quite special. So lastly, just talk about coaching. I just think I think this is we talk about managing and people leaving their managers. We talk about coaches in our organization. Like, we're coaching one another, and we recognize that it's both ways. So I can coach my boss. My boss can coach me. I'm like, hey, giving you some feedback here. I love it when you do this. This one's harder for me to respond to. I think it's really important, creating an environment where it goes both ways. It's not, well, I'm your boss, I'll tell you what to do. Like, if you want to have a culture where people are highly engaged, that they should be able to feel like they can have two-way dialogue and say, hey, and one of the ways you can do that is say, is there anything I'm doing as your leader, as your manager, as your boss, whatever language you use, that if I shifted and changed a little bit, there would be more, it would help you engage more, and it would help you know exactly what we're doing, where we're going, how we're getting there. Is there anything I can shift in my style? Just asking those things, getting feedback on how you are leading it as well. So it's dynamic, but people will appreciate it for sure. So, all right. we have a few minutes left here for some questions or comments as well. If you're like, hey, I would love to add something here. In the same vein, I just said, hey, these are some great things here. Give some feedback. If you have some things here you'd like to add, you can write them in chat saying, hey, this is something we use in our organization that really, really works well. Sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, or something that somebody in your organization does, or you have a great manager or a great boss that you're like, one thing they did was this, really helped me dial in, help lead me better, or anything around communicating company vision and clarity, etc., that Cullen talked about. Feel free to throw those in here. I know that we had some questions sent to us beforehand, I believe, as well. But yeah, on this Q&A, Cullen already put up a QR code. So here you can hit this again to get in touch with either of us. If you actually, I want to talk more. I don't really want to put it in chat here, but I would like to chat about, how I can get better in this whole the people space or the strategy towards our company goals and objectives. And don't let exit momentum fool you. They're not exclusively just around exits, but they will coach and develop you to help you hit your goals and objectives.
Yep.
Is that right, Cullen?
It is. It is.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have one other thought too, Jonathan, while we're seeing if other questions come in on the feedback side of things. I think oftentimes we see leaders, managers, boss, whatever you want to call them, to your point, doing it, but they're not. It's almost like a drive-by, feedback, shooting in terms of the way that they do it, and the employee, the team member is not really prepared, and then they end with, "Do you have any for me?" And so what we have seen is when your team members know that is what we're doing and that they've had 30 minutes or a day or two to think about it, it's much more effective, right? And to your point, the right questions. One of the questions we pose to our leadership team members every year that they do with themselves on the team as part of our annual process is, in order for us to work better this year, I would like you to blank. Like, what is the thing that I need from, so Jonathan, in order for us to work better this year, I would like you to, speak more directly with me, meet with me one-on-one,
Yeah.
very specific in terms of that. And it's incredible what comes out of that. But oftentimes, if you don't have that container, it's hard to do. So,
Yeah.
got a question here. Which obstacle, Cullen, which obstacles do organizations struggle with addressing with their team the most? It's the human dynamic. The hardest thing that we see, again, in growth-oriented companies, one of the hardest things is many times there's been somebody that's on the team for the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And the reality is the company's outgrown their ability, and their head, heart, and briefcase potentially are one of those. And they really want to honor the contribution, but they also know it's a limiter to the organization. And so figuring out how to manage through that in terms, it doesn't mean they have to be let go, but they may not be able to be in that role anymore. And so that the human dynamic is the hardest one because we care. I mean, I'm sure everybody on this call, the reason you're on this call is you care about your vision, you care about your team. And so you're trying to get better. And so that's the one that they struggle with the most. And once they're able to manage that, it definitely helps. But we absolutely see oftentimes, again, this talent assessment for where we are, not where we're going, tied to that, oftentimes a team member that the company's outgrown.
All right, I got another one for you, Cullen. This is good. What's the biggest barrier you've seen between having a strong direction and teams actually delivering results? And how do you remove that barrier? Biggest barrier between direction
Yeah.
or vision and teams actually delivering results?
Yeah, great question. So the biggest barrier between direction and really the execution is the direct. We have 8 number one priorities, and so they're confused because it's like, well, wait a minute, the direction isn't really a direction. We think it is because we're very passionate about the way we share about it, but the reality is that is not a clear direction, and so they're not clear what we're saying yes to, what we're saying no to, what we're saying not right now to, and what filter I'm going to use to make those decisions at a departmental level. And so they freeze because they're waiting for the next update. But then when I get the update, it's like, well, it's again, this is where direction has started to shift. So for me, what we see with so many clients is simplifying that direction so that it's absorbable and digestible for them, right? You have to remember who you're oftentimes sharing this with, people that are required to execute, who, again, incredibly valuable and stuff like that, may not have the same creative capacity traditionally that you would have as an entrepreneur leading an organization. Again, that's not their skills are critically important. But the point is you're trying to put too many ideas. One of my former business partners was like, bro, you keep changing directions. And I'm just watching the team freeze because they thought we were going this way. And they know every 2 weeks you're going to change direction. And so they just wait for you to change again because they want to go too far. So hopefully that helps answer that question for you.
That's great. I just came out of a 2-day annual planning with our executive team, and we were looking at our goals for this year. We had 7, which is, I think is fine. 7
Yeah.
major goals that we wanted to accomplish. And when we looked at how many we'd completed or we're anticipating to finish by the end of the year, this next year we're going to have 3. And one of the things we said, like, wow, real simple, 3 major goals, boom. And then it was like, I hope we get all of them done. Otherwise, if we miss one of them, we only accomplish 66%. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that's not an option. That's
Yeah.
not an option. If we're going to do 3, if it was 1, yeah, we have to do it 100%. But I think sometimes there can be this like negotiation over what we're going to complete and not. If it's not a priority, if it's not a real goal that we have to accomplish, then don't even put it on there. So we made it as 3 very, very potent, very specific goals we need to have. So what a privilege to be here with you today, Cullen, and for all of our guests here. Thank you all for coming, and hopefully you received what you came to get. And if not, you could have hit that QR code and said, hey, I didn't get what I wanted, but I want to schedule some time here to get it, because both Cullen's company and Titus Talent, we are here to serve organizations to hit their goals. Okay, for us, it's all things people. For Cullen, it's obviously the things that he covered here today. So really, really important. We are here to serve. And if we failed you, please schedule some time. Our gift to you is helping you accomplish those goals. So thank you all for coming. If you found any of this valuable, like and share. No, I'm kidding. But because we need feedback. But no, it's really, really important that we are investing in ourselves, investing in our teams to hit the company goals and the organizational goals and mission. We are committed to that and here to serve you in any way we can. So thanks a lot for coming. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to further communication with you all. Cheers. Thanks a lot, Cullen.
Thank you.